Hello and welcome to the Pearson Triton 28 sailing tutorial. This video will encompass basic sailing techniques for the Pearson Triton 28. So let's cast off the lines and get sailing. Alright, we're motoring away from the dock. There's probably a few things we want to make sure that we have on. First and foremost, we want to have our man overboard sensor on. If you fall overboard, it'll cut the engine. Of course, if you're sailing, the ship will continue to sail, so keep that in mind. Also want to make sure we have our navigation lights on, and since we're using our inboard motor, you want to have your under power mast light on. You can turn that off once you're under sail power exclusively. We also have a GPS we can turn on. Comes with 3 modes: a traditional map screen, a wind speed and GPS speed indicator, which is right here, as well as wind direction indicator, and also a sounding display, so we make sure we don't bottom our keel out. For us, our primary screen that we're going to want is this one. It displays our wind direction here, wind speed here, and our GPS speed. And if in case you forget, you can press this bottom button here, and it'll display what those numbers indicate temporarily. As to the inboard engine, it does have a very limited supply of fuel aboard. It's really only for motoring out from the dock and getting yourself back in, or in the event there's no wind. So keep an eye on your fuel. It does tend to run out very quickly, in about 24 kilometers optimistically. So once we get further out to sea, I'll catch back up with you. Alright, we're leaving Olsen Bay. You can see the lighthouse out there. As we look to our GPS, you can see that our wind speed is currently at about 14 knots, and our GPS speed is about 3. And the wind direction is coming from behind us, so from about that direction, which means if we were under sail power right now, we'd be traveling in what's called a broad reach. This is actually very favorable conditions for us right now, so we're going to go ahead and raise our sails. First one we want to bring up is the jib. Jib sail, or foresail, is the one rolled up right here. And there's 2 buttons to do that. There's one on the starboard side as well as the port. There's furl, which rolls the sail back up, and unfurl. So we want to unfurl the sail, and you can see it start to unroll. Let's see it from an external view here. You can see that the sail is indeed unfurling. Once it's unfurled, you'll actually start to notice our GPS speed, this bottom number, will actually start to increase as it provides power or assists the inboard motor. And there goes our speed. It's climbing up a little bit. Just over 4 knots. That's great. Alright, the next one we want to raise is our main sail, which is on the mast here. There's only one place to do that from. It's these 2 arrow buttons. There's raise the main sail and lower. We're going to go ahead and raise the sail, and you can see it start to get raised up the mast there. We're going to turn back to our seat here, and I want to show you what will happen. As the sail raises and it starts to catch the wind and bellow, you can see the boat begin to heel a little bit to the port side. And you can see our speed is already up to 7 knots. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off the inboard motor. And we are sailing. We can go ahead and turn off our under power mast light there. And the next thing we'll go over is actually how to maneuver and what to do in certain situations, depending on wind speed and direction, or the direction you wish to travel. Alright, we're back, and we're still traveling in our broad reach. See, we're making about 6 knots. Well, let's say we want to transfer or transition to a more westerly direction, which will put us into what's called a beam reach. So I'm going to make a turn to the starboard here, and you're going to see the boat start to heel over to the port side. And some of this is because of my high speed of my turn, but it's also because the wind is pushing against the sail from the right side, or starboard side, and forcing the boat to heel over quite a bit, even though the wind speed hasn't actually changed that much. How can we correct some of this? Well, there's a couple ways. One, we can let out the jib sail, and there's controls to do that here on either side of the boat, those arrow keys. By easing the foresail or jib out, you can see it begins to bellow, and a lot of that air begins to, or wind begins to spill away from the sail. If I trim it, you can see I tighten it back up again. So I'm going to ease the foresail out all the way, and you're going to see our speed begin to drop off a little bit. If I want to ease off a little bit more, I can actually ease out the mainsail using the boom here. And I can ease this out all the way out to about here. And you can see that we just lost about 2 knots. However, the boat is now not heeling anymore. We're now pretty much level with the surface of the water. So this is a balancing act that you will need to conduct. You know, you want to maintain a course. You want to keep everybody comfortable. So you want to only let out what you need. So you want to try and balance the how much you let the sails out with how much you want to speed you want to maintain, or if you're maintaining your course. And in the next portion, we'll talk about jiving and tacking. All right, in this next portion, we're going to be discussing tacking and jiving. Tacking is where we're actually traveling upwind. In a boat like this, which is called a sloop, we can actually do that by traveling in a zigzag pattern with the wind. So we'll move in this direction we are right now, and then we'll switch, we'll turn to the left and zag that way for a little while in this perpendicular, and then zig back the other way. Jiving is the same concept, except you're going with the wind, and it's quite a bit easier because you always have propulsion. The problem with a boat like this is that for a small period in a 45-degree angle in the direction the wind is coming from, we enter a no-go zone, or what sometimes is called in irons, basically where we're not generating any propulsion. So we need to get through that area as quickly as possible and keep as much momentum as we can while we do so. So as you can see right now, we're only making about 2 knots, and I've got the sails let out fully. When I change direction, the boom is going to swing over to the other side of the boat. Now if I leave it loose like this, it will actually swing around and maybe hit somebody, and we definitely don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim the foresail. We're going to bring it all the way in. Helps if you press the trim button. There you go. I got the jib all the way in. I'm going to trim the mainsail in. This way, when we switch directions, it won't swing around so much. We're going to pick up as much speed as we can. About 5 knots, that's good. And I'm going to execute a turn to the port towards that mountain there. And I'm going to pass through the no-go zone here, and you're going to see our speed on our GPS begin to drop off quite a bit. We want to maintain that momentum. I'm still holding the rudder all the way over. I'll lose quite a bit of speed. You can see the boom switch direction as the wind switch sides. There we go. Still in our no-go zone here. Hoping that speed comes up. We don't get stuck here. There we go. We're through. Alright, and that's how you execute attack. You just keep doing that until you get where you want to go. Alright, in the next portion of this video, we're actually going to discuss what to do in rough seas. As you can see, again looking at GPS, the wind speed is at about 33 knots, which is storm conditions. And we are heeling over quite a bit, dangerously so, and we can't maintain a course to save ourselves. So what we're going to do, like we talked about earlier, we're going to ease the jib and we're going to ease the main sheet out as much as we can. Hopefully that corrects some of the heeling. Indeed it has. But as you can see, the boat is still having a hard time. The automatic heading hold system is having a hard time maintaining a good heading, a good fix. So what we can actually do, we have one more trick up our sleeves here. We can actually use this device here. This is called a traveler. It's on a track here. It limits the travel of the boom to prevent it from swinging around and hitting people, but we can actually let it out. So we're going to move the traveler all the way over to the starboard. And as you can see, it lets the boom out to its maximum travel distance. And we've lost quite a bit of our momentum and our speed. But as you can see, even in 35 knot winds, which is pretty outrageous, we can actually keep the boat pretty level, even though we bled off a lot of that speed. What you can also do in really high winds, which I'll demonstrate now. In really high winds, you can see right now, we're only, it's 53 knot winds, which is, you know, terrible storm weather. So we're actually going to bring the mainsail down and in. Even with it out all the way, we can't maintain a good heading, and it's dangerous. So as it lowers, it's going to reset all the settings here. So the travelers are going to reset to the center. The boom's going to reset to the center, and we can now bring the jib in, or the foresail, and we can still maintain a little headway. Not much, but it's better than nothing. And even in 50 knot winds, 55 knot winds, we can still maintain about 3 knots. And the boat's not heeling too bad. It's controllable. So in bad storms, I would recommend lowering the mainsail and just going down to the jib. And if it's really bad, hurricane force, I would recommend bringing all your sails in or down, and either continuing under motor power or dropping the anchor and waiting it out and hoping for the best. And that concludes the tutorial for today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, or you can find me on Discord under the same name, Geronimo. And I'll also include some screenshots in the workshop with this boat that explain some of the inner workings of the GPS and a few other systems aboard. I hope you enjoy the Pearson Triton 28, and happy sailing.